Wonderful. All right. Let's start off with our usual update from Gaza. Our humanitarian colleagues are telling us that between the 1st and the 10th of January, only 3 out of the 21 planned aid deliveries of food, medicine, water, and other life-saving supplies to north of Wadi Gaza were able to proceed. These included multiple planned missions to provide medical supplies to Gaza City and fuel to water and sanitation facilities in Gaza City and the north, and those were denied by the Israeli authorities. The UN's ability to respond to extensive needs in the northern part of Gaza is being curtailed by recurring denials of access for aid deliveries and lack of coordinated safe access by the Israeli authorities. These denials and severe access constraints are paralyzing the ability of humanitarian partners to respond meaningfully, consistently, and at scale. Overall, the rate of access seen in January so far presents a significant deterioration when compared to the rate of access in December of last year, where more than 70% of the planned UN missions to the north were coordinated and undertaken. The rate for January 1st to the 10th is about 14%. Every day that we are unable to provide assistance results in the loss of lives and suffering of hundreds of thousands of people who remain in northern Gaza. Yesterday, our emergency relief coordinator, Martin Griffiths, said in a social media post that, quote, the health sector in Gaza is being slowly choked off as hospitals continue to come under fire, and what happens when the health system collapses. Pregnant mothers can't deliver babies safely, children can't get vaccines, the sick and wounded cannot get treatment, people die, and this war must end, Mr. Griffiths said. He also mourned yesterday the loss of 4 members of the Palestinian Red Crescent ambulance crews who were killed while on duty in Gaza. He said the rules of war are clear and that parties must protect civilians, including, of course, humanitarian workers. Staying in the region, the Undersecretary General for Peace Operations, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, is continuing his visit to Lebanon and the Middle East. This morning, he arrived at the headquarters of the UN Peacekeeping Force in southern Lebanon, and that headquarters is in Nakura. He is meeting with the mission's leadership and peacekeeping personnel to express his solidarity and support for their work in very challenging circumstances. Mr. Lacroix was in Beirut over the past 2 days, where he met with senior Lebanese political and military leadership, as well as the diplomatic community. He reiterated that the importance of de-escalation and stressed the need for all sides to reaffirm their commitment to Security Council Resolution 1701. We will continue to update you on his activities tomorrow. He remains in the south. Today, just also staying on peacekeeping, today the Secretary General is appointing Major General Cheryl Pierce of Australia as his deputy military advisor for peacekeeping operations. Major General Pierce succeeds Major General Maureen Patricia O'Brien of Ireland, to whom the Secretary General is grateful for her service and her leadership. Currently serving as the Deputy Chief of the Army of the Australian Defence Forces, Major General Pierce brings to this position more than 35 years of military experience, and we very much welcome her. Moving to Ukraine, the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs tells us that another wave of attacks hit the country yesterday. We and our partners continue to support those civilians suffering and the consequences of these widespread attacks. In the Sumy region in northern Ukraine, humanitarians provided assistance to dozens of people whose homes were damaged in an attack on Tuesday. This included supplies to cover damaged roof and windows, psychosocial services, and legal support to obtain compensation for repairs. In the Kharkiv region, several civilians were reportedly killed or injured. That's according to what regional authorities are telling us. Meanwhile, Ukrainian authorities said that attacks in the Donetsk region in the east and the Kherson region in the south of the country injured several civilians and damaged more than a dozen houses, education facilities, and other buildings. An attack earlier this week in central Ukraine reportedly left nearly 18,000 people without power in the Kryvyi Rih city in the Dnipro region. This after an energy facility broke down. Electricity and water supplies were partially recovered today, but repairs are continuing. Back here in the Security Council this morning, the head of our of our political mission for West Africa and the Sahel, Leonardo Santos Shimao, said that over the past 6 months, the situation in the region has been marked by contrasting developments. On one hand, he said significant progress had been made in consolidating democracy in some parts of the region, while on the other hand, the security situation and the governance challenges remain a major concern. In the Sahel, Mr. Shimao said that the unconstitutional change of governments in Niger created a belt of military-led governments, adding to the substantial governance, humanitarian security challenges that we have been facing in the region. Turning to Mali, he said that discussions with Malian authorities are currently ongoing towards a mutual understanding of his office's role there, especially as it relates to political issues. The UN, he said, remains committed to delivering for the people. Mr. Shimao will be available to speak to you at the stakeout after he briefs the Security Council and after consultations. Also, just note, please, that this afternoon there'll be an open meeting on Colombia. The Secretary Special Representative for Colombia, Carlos Ruiz Massieu, will be briefing, but he will do that via video conference technology. Staying in the region of Mali, our humanitarian partners tell us that aid agencies are working through the UN response plan. We're able to reach more than 1.8 million people across the country in 2023. This was despite several challenges, and quite a lot, including escalating insecurity in some parts of the country late last year. We and our partners are committed to staying and delivering principled assistance and protection services in Mali, working with national authorities, Malian organizations, and local communities. But our colleagues say to keep responses going, agencies urgently need support for critical enabling services such as logistics, mine action, and security. In some locations, these services were, of course, being provided previously by the UN Peacekeeping mission, MINUSMA. Agencies also need full funding for the humanitarian response itself. This year's response plan for Mali, which will be launched at the end of this month and is expected to require $700 million for the year, a 10% decrease from 2023, which reflects more prioritized focus on the country's most severe needs. While humanitarian aid remains essential, more is needed to address the challenges faced by people in Mali. We will continue to emphasize the need to maintain development assistance as well as social cohesion programs to help communities move forward and to avoid further increases in humanitarian needs in the future. Also on Afghanistan, the UN mission in Afghanistan expressed today its deep concern over the recent arbitrary arrests and detention of women and girls by the de facto authorities because of their alleged non-compliance with the hijab decree. The UN mission said it's looking to allegations of incommunicado detention and ill treatment and is discussing these issues with the de facto authorities themselves. The mission also called for the immediate release of all those who were detained. If you recall, in May of last year, the Secretary General expressed his alarm when the Taliban announced that women must cover their faces in public and leave home only in cases of necessity. And we will keep echoing those concerns and engaging with the authorities on those. Finally, one more member of the honor roll, and I will give you, if I give you a letter and a digit, will you figure it out? I will give you number 8 and the letter K. I don't think I could have made it any simpler for you, James. Go ahead.
Okay. Can I start by asking about, I know it's not something you will talk about, the legal merits, but the International Court of Justice this morning, an important organ of the UN, had an important case. Did the Secretary General get up and watch?
The Secretary General is obviously following the proceedings, but I think the most important thing to say is that the International Court of Justice is independent. The Secretary General has full respect for the independence of the court, its proceedings, and its decisions.
So what are the obligations of UN member states if the court, which it will come to a finding at the end of this? What are the obligations of member states? If, for example, the court comes up with provisional measures, are member states obliged to follow those, and are members of the Security Council obliged to take action following the decisions?
I can't predict what decisions will or will not be taken, and I think all obligations are included in the statute of the court, and it is not for me to comment.
And can I ask you for two quick updates?
Yes, sir.
One, the people being held hostage after the helicopter. You rightly gave us a very limited statement and said because of the delicacy of the situation. But I wondered if you could give us any update at all, including numbers, which we didn't have before. And secondly, any updates on the movements of Sigrid Kaag, her visit to DC, and who she's been meeting?
Okay. Sigrid Kaag, my understanding, will be in DC tomorrow. Once her appointments are set, we will share those with you. Also, you did not ask me, but others had asked me in the past. She received a visa to visit Israel, which is good news. Once that travel to the region is clear, I will tell you. And I completely forgot your other question.
It's about the hostages.
Oh, on Somalia, the situation, I think, remains very delicate, to say the least, so I have nothing to share with you. Edith?
Thank you, Steph. Two questions. First, following up on the efforts by the UN and its partners to deliver aid to northern Gaza, can you tell us what kind of discussions and how high level they are between the UN officials and Israel to try and get this aid into the north?
Well, I mean, there are operational discussions that go on every day. Mostly, and our main operational partner is COGAT, which is a part of the Israeli security apparatus that deals with us on these issues, whether it's in the West Bank or in Gaza. Obviously, at senior more levels, the broader issue of access is constantly raised, and that will be one of Ms. Kaag's issues. But on a daily basis, there are constant contacts on an operational level.
And was there a reason given by the Israelis for the denial of?
I don't have that level of granularity. I'll see what I can get for you.
And on a completely different issue, does the Secretary General have any comment on Iran's seizure of an oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman?
Well, we hope, we're obviously following this. We hope this issue gets resolved as quickly as possible. I think there are enough challenges currently ongoing for international maritime traffic in the region, and also for any potential escalation of the situation. Evelyn, then Deji.
Thank you, Stéphane. Do you have the numbers of how many people were displaced in Israel and Lebanon on their common border?
I have numbers for Lebanon because we obviously have a humanitarian presence in Lebanon. Those numbers were shared by the IOM about 4 or 5 days ago. Whether I can recall those numbers in my brain,
look it up, yeah.
I will share those with you. On Israel, I mean, we operate on humanitarian presence when we're requested. We don't have a humanitarian presence in Israel, but it is clear that because of the fighting, civilians have been displaced from their homes, from their places of business in northern Israel in rather large numbers.
And on Mali, you mentioned protection services. What kind of protection without peacekeepers?
No, this is protection services is a general term that we use whenever we have internally displaced people or refugees to ensure that they have access to services, whether it's protection on sexual violence. It does not imply armed protection. Deji.
So my most important questions has been asked by Edie. So let me ask you two follow-ups.
That's often everyone's case.
Yes. So the first one, do you have some updates on yesterday? My question on the UNRWA's teachers group celebrating.
No, I mean
Hamas
I would
attack?
I gave you the information I had. I would encourage you to follow up directly with UNRWA.
Okay, and second, do you have any update on the UN's efforts to release the hostages kept by Hamas?
No, the Secretary General continues his own advocacy in contacts that he's had, and we're very well aware that we're coming up, I think, tomorrow on the 100-day mark, which, again, we reiterate our call for their immediate and unconditional release, and also for the Red Cross to be able to have access to them, which, as far as I know, has not yet been the case.
Yesterday, the Security Council adopted the resolution on the Red Sea region. Now, after the Hamas attack, there has been 3 resolutions in that region, I think. The first 2, I don't know how's the execution of the resolution. What do you expect the third one? I mean, the one yesterday that passed would be abide by relative parties,
as with
especially
every
by
resolution
Houthis.
passed by the Security Council, our expectations are that member states and all concerned parties will abide by them.
We all feel like it's a law-binding resolution by the Security Council, but now it seems like nobody's really follow those resolutions.
Well, that sounds like an observation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stefano, then James.
Yeah, actually, it's a follow-up on that, on the resolution just voted. Does the Secretary General think that this resolution allows eventually those, I don't know, United States or other country to respond to an attack by the Houthi, also in attacking in their territory, Yemen?
We would not want to see any kinetic movement that would lead to a further deterioration of the situation, and also would have even a negative impact on the efforts and the positive efforts that we have seen from Hans Grunberg recently.
And then, always follow up, on that report of UN Watch on UNRWA, I just asked to Human Rights Watch what they thought, an assessment of what they thought on that report, and they say they don't think is worth anything because they don't have proofs or things like that. I mean, anyway, they didn't have anything good to say about the report. Yesterday, you said, I think if I heard well, you said that you are concerned. I mean, the UN is concerned.
I said what I said. I mean, neither of us can remember what I said yesterday, clearly, Stefano. But what I'm saying is that any allegations are looked into. I mean, UN Watch has a track record, and I think from our end, it speaks for itself. But obviously, any allegations are looked into. Ibtisam, then James, and then I think we'll go to Mr. Shimao, who's waiting for you downstairs, or down the stakeout. Ibtisam, please.
Just a quick follow-up on Ms. Kag's visit to Israel and the visa that she got. Is she also going to Gaza on that trip?
I don't know what all her travels will be, but obviously the idea is that she will go at some point to Gaza. I mean, I raise the issue of visa for Israel because it's been a question that has been raised in this room quite a few times. We also know we have again, to use that term, there's a track record of issues with visas. So I just wanted to make it clear because there had been questions about whether Israel is cooperating, and the message I've been sending out for the last few days is our understanding is that there will be full cooperation, and the issuance of that visa is a visible demonstration of that. So I just wanted to get out. Of course, she will visit the whole region, and her mandate is focused on Gaza. So at some point, she will obviously be going to Gaza.
Yeah, no, but my question is also in the context of what you said, because she needs the Israeli approval to enter Gaza.
So that's part of the overall cooperation package, which we hope will continue to move positively. Mr. Bays.
A follow-up before my question. given the immense media interest in her job, would it be possible to ask that a team of reporters were able to follow her, particularly if she goes to Gaza? If you can try and get that permission as well for us. Okay, so as a general principle, when you look at the work of senior UN officials, and particularly those who deal with human rights, how important is public diplomacy and advocacy in their jobs?
For some reason, I have a feeling it's a trick question.
Well,
Whatever I say here will be used against me. I stand here in front of you every day. Public diplomacy, communication is very important.
And that's important. That's important for officials dealing with human rights as well.
It's important for everyone. Now, obviously, there are people who have specific mandates, who are focused on working on reports that need to be issued every half year, every quarter, and they may feel that their mandate is best fulfilled by not being too visible in the preparation of reports.
So that is how you explain, is it, the complete missing in action of Virginia Gamba, the Special Representative for Children and Armed Conflict. And we have had now 3 months in which well over 1,000 children have died, many more bodies of children almost certainly lying under the rubble. It's the largest number of children by far since that.
I'm fully aware of the numbers.
Largest number of children by far since that job was created, and she's put out one statement in 3 months.
We're fully aware of the situation. I speak about the situation every day. I give you these heart-crushing numbers every day. Ms. Gamba's mandate is to produce reports on children in armed conflict. Those reports, as you know, are very exhaustive.
She's only mandated to produce one annual report.
Just, please let me finish. She produces very exhaustive reports, which do make headlines, and she's here with you. The fact that you may not see her does not mean she's missing in action.
The job, she has employed a spokesman. I mean, and she doesn't speak. I mean, I don't understand what she is doing. It seems like dereliction of duty. It seems like she's missing in action.
In any
is
way,
the Secretary General happy with her performance?
I would not describe it that way. He has full confidence in her performance.
And I'm not picking on Ms. Gamba. I could ask you similar questions about the senior advisor on genocide.
I understand your observations, and I bid you adieu.